everyone, this is Crystal, and today I'm working on a 12 by 12 layout. I have these three pictures of my niece and myself, and I'm going to use them all on a 12 by 12 background. I've got a white textured cardstock from American Crafts, and I'm going to use this fairly old collection from Dear Lizzy called Lovely Day. I have the 12 by 12 paper pad, as you can see here. I've never used it. It is brand new, I'm ashamed to say, but I'm going to use it today. So I'm going to use it for these three pictures for this layout, and then the only embellishments that I have that are part of this collection are in the sticker book. So the back half of the sticker book, the Dear Lizzy sticker book, coordinates with this collection. So I'm going to use that and at least start there, and then if there's anything else that I need, I'll just go to my stash and see what I can find. But I also want to do some mixed media on the background. I have some clear gesso. It's this clear gesso you may have seen from an unboxing video I did a few weeks back. And then I also have this mist, which is Blush Crush from Color Theory by Studio Calico. And I just wanted a really soft pink, so I think that this will probably work. I may have to mix in a little bit of another color to get it to match this, but I'm just going to play around and see how it goes. And then I thought I would also try to use this screen. I think this was from a Beautiful Mess kit. I can't quite remember. I've had it in my stash a long time and I've never used it either. So I think I might try to use it today and just at least see how it goes. I also have just some really inexpensive white acrylic paint and a cheap little palette knife to try it with. So that is where I'm going to start and see how it goes. It may turn out, it may not. We'll see. So I'm going to start by getting out my Ranger mat. This is just a mixed media mat to keep my desk clean, and then I'm going to put some of this clear gesso on my page. And I'm not really sure where I want to put the mixed media. I don't do a lot of mixed media. This is kind of new for me, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of covering the entire page with the gesso just so I can make sure that the whole page is covered, and then no matter where I want to put the mixed media, I'll be good. So now I'm just going to try out this mist that I pulled out, this Blush Crush mist from Studio Calico, but it ends up being quite a bit darker than I was expecting, and it doesn't really match the pink in the paper that I'm trying to match. So you can see that's much brighter and much darker than I was thinking. It's much darker than the actual label on the mist itself. So I am going to get out my watercolors, and this is just an inexpensive set of watercolors from, I think Michaels is where I got it. And I'm just mixing a few different colors to try and match that pink from the collection. It's kind of a peachy pink from the collection. And I finally get a color that I'm fairly happy with, and I'm just using the packaging technique to spread some color on my page. And I don't want a lot. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I just want some slight light color in the background. I'm planning to do quite a few layers on top of this, so a lot of it's going to be covered up, but I just want some kind of peeking out. And like I said, I am not extremely comfortable with this technique or mixed media in general. This is not something I do very often, and I'm just kind of playing around and trying to see what will work. And it looks a little crazy right now, but like I said, a lot of it's going to be covered up. Okay, so I let that dry, and now I have the screen print, and I'm just taking some of that white acrylic paint and my palette knife and just rubbing it over the top of the screen, and it leaves a really nice impression. It's really hard to see on the screen. You probably can't see it at all, but it does leave a really nice just kind of texture on the background. So I've set that aside to dry, and I'm just going to go through this paper pad and pick out a few of the patterns, a few of the papers that I think I might want to use on my layout. So I have my three photos there, and I'm just kind of picking out some at random. And I may not use all of these. I just want to have a few at hand so I can start playing around. So I'm pretty sure I want to lay my photos like this on the page in
a horizontal line across the page and then do some layers behind it, and then leave a space between a couple of them for my title. But as I put them on these papers, I realized they definitely need a white border just to set them apart from all of this color behind there. So I just grabbed out a sheet of white cardstock, just a scrap sheet, and I'm just going to adhere them and then trim around them and give them just a really narrow white border around all three of them. I could have done this when I printed, but I wasn't thinking ahead, so the cardstock works just fine. It doesn't bother me, and it kind of adds another layer of dimension, which is kind of nice sometimes. So I really like this pink paper behind there, behind the photos, so I'm going to start there, and I just randomly kind of trimmed off a bit of it and then trimmed a slightly larger piece for the blue, the teal paper behind the pink. And then I really love this script paper. It's kind of a rose gold, I think, script paper. I mean, I really like it. It's beautiful, and I want to use it. So I'm trying to figure out where in my layers I can add it. So my background is mostly dry now, and it did warp a little bit. So I'm just taking some double-sided tape and adhering it to my work surface just to keep it flat while I'm working. And now I'm just going to continue to play around with the layers. I thought about using one of these tags in between the photos where I have that gap to put my title on, which I really like that idea, but none of the patterns in those tags would actually really work, and none of the sayings would work as a title. So I'm just trying to figure out how to make that idea of using a tag work with what I have here, since I don't have any of the other embellishments or tags from this collection. And it is very light, so I think maybe some of this darker blue pattern paper just on the edges of my layers would help to ground it. So I cut a strip of that and add it to both the top and the bottom. And now I'm thinking about these tags again, and I really like the blue on this one, and but the bike doesn't really fit with what I have on the page or what my page is about. So I'm thinking I'm just going to cover up the bottom part of this tag with that pattern paper that I have there to the right. So I'm just measuring, and I'm going to cut a piece to fit over the top of that. And because this pattern paper has all the colors that I've put in this spread so far, so I'm just going to create a tag out of it instead of the original paper that was part of this tag, if that makes sense. So this is where I'm going to end up putting my title on the page. And I am about to pull out a few different alphabet stickers to think about which ones I want to use for my title. It needs to be something that will stand out on this patterned background, on this patterned tag that I've created. But it also still needs to be kind of light and airy like the rest of my layout so far. So I'm just going to think about which of these alphas I might want to use. I have some pink, some white, some gray. Actually, that's a polka dot one from Dear Lizzie. And while I'm thinking about that, I'm just going to go ahead and adhere all of the layers that I have so far on my background. I like the way that this looks, so I am just going to commit and go for it. And I don't know if you can see on screen, but the screen printing that I did at the beginning of the video just kind of peeks out above and below where I have these layers. So you can see it. It's just an added texture in the background above and below the layers. So I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers tool to punch out the circle in that tag, and then I'm going to use some craft foam to pop up this photo on the far right, and then I'm going to adhere the rest of them just straight on the page. So I'm kind of highlighting the one photo on the far right, and just by adding that foam, it kind of makes it stand out, and then it goes on top of this tag where my title's going to sit, instead of behind like the one on the other side. Okay, so I think that I want to use this Dear Lizzy alphabet. It's very old. I've had it in my stash for a very long time. I really loved it when I bought it, so I bought several sheets of it, or several packages of it. So I have still quite a few left. And it's a white thicker with kind of a navy blue polka dot. It's a very cute alpha. I still really like it. So I'm going to use it in conjunction with this script alpha from Freckled Fawn. And this is actually one that Jen Scow designed. It's her handwriting. And again, I really love it. I have not used a lot of it just because it's so dainty and so small, and it's kind of hard to use on some of the layouts that I create because it's just so small, and I want my title usually to stand out. So I've used it here and there, but I still have plenty of it left, and because this is a longer title, it works perfectly, and it fits on this tag along with the other thickers to kind of highlight the one word in my title. So my title is Let's Take a Silly One, which is what my niece kept saying. She would come to me when I was looking at my phone, and she wanted to take a Snapchat photo with a silly filter. So she would just come up to me and say, let's take a silly one. And then I would take our picture together using a different Snapchat filter, and she thought it was just hilarious. So I took that paper from the paper pad that was just a bunch of different phrases, and I cut out one that says, I love your face, and I'm just going to add that below that photo, and I'm just going to play around with some embellishing now. So I know that I want to embellish down here in this bottom corner under where that kind of focal photo is, and then I would know that I also want to embellish on the opposite top corner, and this is also where I have those that screen printing with the acrylic paint. It's in these two locations, so I want to use that kind of as a background for my embellishing. So I'm just going to look through the rest of this sticker pack, this sticker book. This is the Dear Lizzy sticker book from American Crafts, and I'm just looking for other little embellishments, phrases, other things that will work in these two areas. So I usually like to work in embellishment clusters of 3, so 3 embellishment clusters on a page. So I decided to add one at the top, and there was a lot of white space on this layout, so I feel like this just helps it kind of connect the page together, and then it adds another embellishment spot and draws your eye from the top left to the bottom right. So I really love these florals that are in this sticker pack, so I decided to add a couple of those, and they're clear stickers, so they work really well over the top of all of these layers and the mixed media on the background as well. I'm just going to continue to use things that are in the sticker book. These books are amazing. They have so much in them, and they're basically the only thing I'm using on this page. So I had a 12 by 12 paper pad and the sticker book, and I'm going to be able to create this entire layout basically just using those 2 things, which is a pretty inexpensive way to go about creating a layout or scrapbooking. So I think it's really amazing that they have these products and make it so easy to put together an entire page with just very few things in having very few things in your stash. Not that I don't have more, I have lots more, and I could be using it, but sometimes it's really nice just to focus on a couple different supplies and stick to those things, and then I don't get overwhelmed with tons of things out on my desk, and the page actually came together pretty quickly this way. So I just stepped away for a minute to look for a ribbon to add to the top of that tag, and I found an old one from American Crafts, and I'm just going to staple that to the top of the tag using a gold staple, or a couple of gold staples, and then that's just about it for the page. I'm just looking it over to see if there's anything else that I need to add, and then I remember that I still haven't added a date, so I need to grab some ink and my roller date stamp and add that And I end up choosing a navy blue ink. I think this is a Hero Arts ink. I'm not sure, but I'll link it below. And that kind of helps tie in that navy blue that I have in a couple different places. And the my Love Your Face cutout didn't make it to the page. It just was a little bit too big. Even though I loved it, it just didn't make it. So here are a few close-ups, and you can hopefully see that screen printing a bit better here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe if you want to see future videos from me, and do give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found some inspiration here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you back here soon.